Everyone knew something about the Crow kids they weren't sharing. Some sort of the town secret, but we're outsiders. When I needed help to know what happened to Jenny these past few days, nobody was answering my questions. That's my little girl out there. She needs her daddy. You people ain't telling me nothing I can use. Where's my daughter? They knew. Of course they knew. I could see it. Despite their feigned looks of confusion, I could tell by the way they'd avert their eyes. They don't talk about the weird stuff that happens here. I don't either. I'm not quite sure why. None of us do. Wait, I'm starting this off all wrong. I need to tell you about the house I got for sale. It's listed by Montana Sun Kentucky Realty. New listing, 467 Weber Street, Bradenville. Think about taking the drive out and having a look. Maybe it's for you. It's real affordable. It's 3-bedroom, but one of them is more of an office. That one's downstairs. We have a big open plan. First floor's got living space and that office. The other bedrooms and bathrooms are upstairs, about 2,382 square feet total. I've got it priced under market. Upkept real well, though it may not look modern outside. All the fixtures and some of the plumbing are new from right after Janie and I moved in. Bradenville's small. It's a quiet town. Little slice of Americana where the mailman still walks door to door. People say hello to strangers, and if you do something uneducated, somebody's mama's liable to place her hand on her chest and mutter, "God bless your heart," with a smile. It's a beautiful place to live, too. My daughter Jenny and I moved here almost 3 years ago, and I fell in love with it. People here are your salt-of-the-earth types. Hard-working, God-fearing, enjoying the simpler side of Kentucky living. It's true what they say about Bradenville. If you come to live here, you'll stay till you die. The house I got for sale ain't one of the cookie-cutter ones that you can buy anywhere in the country. You know, the kind it was built by someone's own 2 hands. You don't have to live in some new development called Begonia Heights or Lavender Ridge or whatever pretentious bullshit places where you live are called. You want to live here. Weber Street's Weber Street. Main Street's Main. These streets have normal names, not the breeds of birds or anything stupid. Every house is unique. The place is made with spirit and character built to raise your family in. My house is almost 100 years old now. A house like this one might even outlive you. If it's not big enough, it'd be easy to add on to. When Rihanna next door got pregnant, she and Paul and the other 2 kids pack up and move? Heck no. God damn them. They called a man, measured some walls, added on another room. That was Rihanna's great-grandmother's place. That family's got a lot of love in that house for over 100 years to come. Beyond that even, but they're all dead and gone and the memory of them fades. That's how you're supposed to treat a home. Take care of it, it takes care of you. We don't have no HOA. You can paint it any color onto the rainbow you like, once it's yours. I think my place would be the perfect spot for you. I'm happy you can afford it. I'm sure you can afford it. Cost of living ain't much. There's freedom in the country. You can feel it the moment you step outside and into the breeze. Colors seem brighter. You can hear the spirit of the place like a breeze through bluegrass. Warm music that fades into hazy memory. It's in the air here, even if music ain't playing. You'll see. The moment you take the views, your brain will conjure up the sound of Ricky Skaggs singing "Bury Me Beneath the Weeping Willow" or something akin to that. Maybe you'll think "All the Trouble" by Leanne Womack or Mumford & Son or something that's more current. Whatever country music is to you, that's what you'll think of. When you see the forest behind the place, or the mountains rolling up like a distant backdrop, looking down into the sprawl of town that grew into the shadow, you're bound to get some melody. It'll start screaming like an earworm, burrowing its way into your bruised apple of a skull. I don't think I can do this. I won't trick you like this. What I need is for you to buy my fucking house so me and my little girl can get the fuck out of here. Can you do that? Can anyone out there reading this help me, please? Give you whatever you want. I bought the house with insurance money after my husband passed. Before he died, Daniel and I adopted Jenny to start a family. She was a little thing with strawberry blonde ringlets, bright blue eyes, squirming and rolling around her crib, wrapped in a blanket like a wriggling bundle. I called her Slug, and when I saw how Daniel hated it, Slug became my thing. "Quit it," he said. "That's no nickname for a baby." "Of course it is," I said. "Look at wormy widow Jenny Slug." She laughed, not knowing about the fuss. It was attention, that's all. "That's gross," Daniel said. "She's more like a bird in an egg. You can call her Bird." "No, I'll call her Slug. She can call me Daddy and you'll be Dad." His ears turned red every time I called her that. And I would laugh with her while he seethed. We always made fun of each other. And that was the best time. One of the things I loved best was how he kept on about moving to a place like this. "When I was a kid in Kentucky," he said, as his eyes went glossy and bright with longing. "I remember the air, so fresh, the temperature. One awful morning I woke up and Daniel was gone. He didn't leave. His body was right beside me. Cold. Jenny was turning 5. Suddenly our family changed. It was just the two of us. I took the loss like dodging a rain of cinder blocks that didn't stop for weeks. For days I did okay. Other days I'd be covered until I was buried. Lay tangled in sheets, crying, too weak to move. Forget about getting back on my feet. I wouldn't even try to stand. Instead of our forever home in the country, I moved into a dark, dilapidated place inside myself. People talked to me, but I was walled in. None they said made any sense to the bricks. Sleep apnea? My father snored all his life. People can't die from snoring. Didn't make sense. I didn't want it to. Wasn't fair. He was 31 years old. He'd be 34 and a half now. It's too young. We were just getting started. Well, my grandfathers are allowed to die in their sleep. I hid my depression as well as I could from Jenny. I saw the shrink, took my pills, warned the teacher about being strong. Can do that if I kept falling apart in the dark. I need to come out of this place for her. As for Jenny, it was bad for her at first. Being so young. I knew she didn't understand most of it. Not the funeral, nor what she saw me going through. I wonder how much of it stays with her when she's grown. Made 11 years worth of memories with him. Did she get to keep any of hers at all? I don't remember anything when I was 5. Did she remember the way that they played teddy bears, tea parties? Stupid voices he gave to every one of them. How he pushed her on the swings while she begged to go higher at the park. Higher, please. Can't push you, little bird, he told her. You'll get better hugs from the clouds and fly away from us forever. All 3 of us laughed. She didn't have our genes, but I joked she got her imagination from his side of our family. What if she don't remember him? What are the memories she keeps from him? How I fell apart when he'd gone. I was going to give her that life he always wanted. I bought this house, trying to do just that. And now we're stuck here. In Bradville, people are friendly. Get to know them pretty quick. They'll talk your ear off, the checkout line if you let them. By the time Jenny was 6, we were well known throughout the town. Yet a gay single father in a small town in Kentucky becomes adept at eluding the subject of partners. I didn't give much away. That's how I was at first. I kept people from getting too close. That's how I was raised. Wasn't hiding secrets. I just wasn't walking around passing out copies of biography. Wasn't their business. I found out Carrie Ann Nathan, local busybody, pieced all the bits of the information together and told everyone. Everyone. If you live in a small town, you know there ain't much room for secrets. It was a hassle, but different to what I expected. You forget the world 30 years ago is gone now. Few people cared about my business. Most wanted to talk to me more. If the people of Bradenville were vaguely sweet prior, they became overly saccharine overnight. I stared at the wall of canned vegetables deep in thought when I heard, "Hey, ain't it Eric Parker?" Great. An enormous creature was moving toward me, clutching a purse that was lined with a layer of fuzzy black feathers. "I thought it was you," she called out. Jenny looked up to give a knowing glance before returning her attention to the knots in her doll's hair. I felt my body tense. I kept shopping nonchalantly, hoping she would leave. "Yep, that's me." I kept my tone as casual and dismissive as possible. I knew it was coming. I reached for a can of green beans. "Hi, I'm Patty Fillmore." "Oh, Miss Fillmore, hi," I replied, pretending to read the label. "Nice to see you again." I could see her smile creep its way up her cheeks, not quite reaching her eyes. She looked at me as though, in initiating this brief exchange, she found some exotic treasure. "I just wanted to say I think it's great what you're doing." I looked up. "Oh," I said. "Thank you. They say that this one needs a full pyramid of options for a well-balanced dinner, and vegetables have to be on the menu. Gotta make sure that she gets her greens." "I don't like green beans," Jenny squealed. "That's too bad, Slug. The police said if I buy them, you gotta eat them, or it's jail time." "No, Daddy, don't buy them." "Sorry, honey. They said them's the rules." "No, you know that's not what I meant, silly," Patty began again. She was still there. Why didn't she leave? Given no reason to end the conversation, she resumed talking. A blush spread across her face. "I do," I said. "My daddy doesn't like you, I don't think," Jenny said without looking up. "Jenny," she gave me a look and shrugged and went back to fixing Barbie's hair. "You don't talk to people like that. That's not polite." "Sorry, lady," Jenny whispered. Still, she didn't look up. She knew that she wasn't in trouble. Daddy's little Spitfire was sometimes a brat on purpose. It's part of our deal. "Ain't she something?" Patty said. She chuckled and placed her hand over her massive breast, adding, "Bless your heart. You must be a handful." "That she is," I said. "Ain't you, Slug?" Patty frowned at the nickname. "Good." "I bet it's hard doing all this by yourself," she said. "It's not hard. We got each other." "Well," Patty said, "when you're ready to start dating again, my cousin Cricket would sure like to meet someone like you. He's good with kids. They like him." Cricket? Who in the name of God's called Cricket? Yeah, I understand the irony. Don't care. "Thank you. I got my hands full now. Like you said." "If you change your mind, I can pass the word along." "Very kind. Lunchtime's coming, so we better go. This one gets a little bit ruder than this if she don't get her juice box." Patty laughed and wished us a good day before walking off. "Daddy." "Slug?" "You look like a big fat bird." I laughed. Don't call people names, okay? I bought Jenny some Skittles on the way out, a reward for her part in the interaction, but I didn't tell her. She probably knew. She's a smart kid. I didn't want to teach her to be rude, but the conversation ended more quickly than it would have without. The week Jenny said kindergarten was hard for me, I kept thinking about Daniel and how he should be posing for the photos on her first big day with us. Time marches on. Jenny learned school lessons fast, made friends just as quickly. She got close with Rihanna and Paul's kids next door, long before the new baby. Dixon and Lincoln were funny boys, and the Parishes quickly became the only real friends I made here. We took turns babysitting the three kids, their two and Slug, and while they enjoyed date night, they'd look after Jenny on the few nights I went out myself. Usually I went to the movies or somewhere I could be alone with my thoughts. One afternoon, they were in the backyard, hands tucked up under their armpits like chickens running single file in a circle. Paul had to run to Lexington for work. I offered to watch the kids so that Rihanna could join him for the long ride. The first time I heard it was that day. I set a plate of PB&J sandwiches on the picnic table in the yard. I heard the boys teaching it to Jenny. Sounded like Ring Around the Rosie, but the rhyme was different. She picked up on it quickly because she already knew the tune. Crow kids are liars, eyes are black and beady. Ignore the things they say because they're all wet from their sleeping. Feathers, feathers, you'll fly upside down. I laughed. The heck is that song? I asked the boys. Crow Kids song, Dixon, the younger boy, replied with a scoff. Everybody knows that one. No, I never heard it, I said. Sure you have, everyone has, Dixon said. Lincoln's eyes grew wide and white as eggs. Shh, he scolded his younger brother. The whisper was harsh. I pretended not to hear. I felt a strange pang of curiosity and fear at once when Lincoln's face became dark and serious. They're not from here, he said. They don't know. Something about that stuck with me. I didn't help that Jenny learned the whole thing, reciting it frequently after. Crow kids are liars, mouths are hard and beady. They're flying on the bottom, they're offering their teaching. Feathers, feathers, you'll fly upside down. Honey, can you stop singing that? It gives me the creeps. All the kids sing it, Daddy. I didn't realize it meant anything. Till last weekend. A lot of time passed and Jenny was getting taller every day, growing up quicker than I liked. You want them to stay kids forever, but I don't care what you want. Last weekend, Rihanna was very pregnant, 9 months, 5 days. The addition was built, and the nursery was furnished and painted blue, eagerly awaiting baby boy number 3. Paul was there when I left Jenny at the house. I wouldn't leave her to bother someone about to go into labor. The Rihanna needed rest, not to watch my kids chase her boys in the yard. You sure it's okay? I said. Oh yeah, Rihanna said. I've been holding on longer than I'm supposed to already. Another hour won't change anything. Normally I work from home. I take meetings on video call, design e-commerce sites for companies all over, and last weekend, a local t-shirt company contacted me for a quote. It was only going to take an hour. I won't be long, I told them. Paul told me to take my time. I got the job, but well, it didn't matter. Not now. Returning home, I walked over there. The boys were on the porch turning the worn pages of a weathered comic, their backs against the railing. What's this one say? Dixon asked, pointing to the page. Says he doesn't feel pain. He is pain, Lincoln said. Says, I know it at a molecular level. Pulls at his atoms and sings to him in an alphabet of fear. Jesus Christ. Dixon's 8. Lincoln's older, but he's still only 10. Where do they find this thing? Began to worry about the level of supervision that Jenny had here. Hey boys, I began. They didn't hear me approach, and they both jumped. Your mom and dad inside with Jenny? They're at the hospital, Dixon said. Mom said the baby's coming, and they both ran out of here real fast. He followed, making a noise like a car peeling out. I glanced at the driveway, noticing the fresh black from the tires. Oh, shit. Okay, is Jenny inside? No, Mr. Eric, Dixon said. Just us. She went with him to the hospital. I heard my own voice, anxious and raw. My throat grew dry. I felt like I was floating somewhere else. I grabbed the porch rail and steadied myself. No, Mr. Eric, Dixon said again. The younger boy grew quiet. She's gone. What do you mean she's gone? It came out a mumbled stammer. Dixon looked at the ground. Lincoln didn't look up at all the whole time that I stood there. What do you mean she's gone? I said again. My voice was louder than I meant for it to be. Lincoln, look at me. Tell me what your brother means. You're too late. I wanted to slap the shit out of him. I kept reminding myself that he was just a kid and not my kid. I I glanced frantically around the yard. I looked inside through the windows. Boys, where is she? They went quiet. It was the longest moment of my life, stretching on and on forever. I felt my stomach churn. I was going to be sick. She left with the Crow kids, Dylan said, shuffling his feet. They're going to teach her to fly. I dialed 911. Hi, I said. I'm at 467 Weber Street. I need your help, please, now. What's the nature of your emergency, sir? The operator said. I couldn't find the words. If I said them, that would make it real. 467 Weber, I need help, please. What's the nature of the emergency? Neighbors, she's not here. I left her as babysitting, missing. My daughter, gone. The lightheadedness intensified, and the world went black. Sir? Sir? Can you hear me? Are you there? You said your daughter's missing? Is that correct? Sir? If you can hear me, I'm sending a car there now. An ambulance too. Sir? Are you still there? Sir? I woke surrounded by people. Lincoln was talking to an officer, a woman in mirrored sunglasses. I could hear it, but just barely. Mama said the baby couldn't come. There'd be too many. Lincoln's voice was shrill but calm. So Daddy told me and Dixon to take her to the creek and introduce... That's enough, the woman said softly. I'm going to see if Mr. Varney can take you boys to the hospital to meet up with your mom and daddy. She led the kids over to another officer. They exchanged some words. I couldn't make it out, but I did hear her say something else to him, turning away. Tell the parishes I want to speak to them. Legacy or not, doesn't excuse you from our laws. She started up to where the paramedics attended me, stooping down to pick up the comic book. Rolling it, she stuck it into her back pocket. Wait! Lincoln's voice came from somewhere in the yard. Tell her to give back my comic! Little boy, that's my boss. I don't tell her nothing. Besides, this town's spooky enough without you filling your heads with more bullshit. Come along, you hear me? He good? The woman asked one of the paramedics. For now. I need to ask him a few questions. He may not stay good then. This was a panic attack. I'm fine, I said, sitting up. Slowly, I got up with the help of both paramedics and shaking knees. What did he tell you? Where is she? Something about the creek? Mr. Parker, the woman began. I don't think we've met. I'm Sheriff Downs. You can call me Tawny. I huffed out a sigh. I know who you are, Tawny, I said, trying to conceal my anger. Where did he say she went? He didn't have much info, but I already called the pastor from the church up the road. He's got everybody's telephone, and we'll get a party out here to search. She sucked her teeth and put her hands on her hips. She ever run off before? I sat on one of the rocking chairs near the door and put my hands over my face. I could feel the wet of tears in my palms. I wasn't aware I was crying. No, she's 8 years old. We'll find her, she said. What do you need from me? Like a doll, clothes, something? She looked confused. Come again? For the dogs. I'm sorry, Mr. Parker. We don't have resources for them kind of dogs. I felt my heart sink and settle in my feet. Maybe someone in the search party's got a hunting dog they'll bring, I guess. Keep that in mind. We'll start at the tree line and the woods behind your property. Wrong direction. Lincoln said something about the creek. Creek was across the road and through the field beyond Hayes Jackson's property. Why would she want to look on the wrong side of the street? I looked up at her. Why? That's where she's likely to be, Mr. Parker. I didn't understand, but why think that? Why not start at the creek? She looked off at me confused. The creek's about a mile off in that direction? She probably wouldn't have gone off that far. But that boy is full of fishtails. Takes after his daddy, she said. He don't mean to be a liar. He's what, 9 or 10? He doesn't understand what he's doing. I felt moving in the pit of my stomach, an unease squirming like an eel. What if it's the truth? Enough people from town will come and we can split in two. Her voice was pretty sympathetic, but her face betrayed something else entirely. What was it, pity? No, it wasn't that. Annoyance. My suggestions were annoying her. She probably didn't want to search at all. I can come over to the creek if you want to start there. We'll send another team out yonder in the woods. We can cover more ground that way. He was trying to tell you something else, I said. I don't think he was, she said. I searched her face for any hint of compassion. All I saw in it was a tired weather mask beginning to slip. She was lying to me and not very good at it. She didn't care if we ever found Jenny. It was in her eyes. I think it was something about the Crow kids. Is that a family name, Crow? She sighed. No, Mr. Parker, like I said, fish tales. No family named Crow, just a small-town urban legend. Ain't no Crow kids, just made-up stories. I don't remember how it goes. Kids been talking about them since before I was born. Get blamed for everything bad. They aren't real. Many responding to Pastor Thomas's call arrived in hiking boots and thick pants. Some came wielding machetes and heavy-duty loppers to clear paths through the brush. Nobody came with a hunting dog. A woman named Cheryl lumbered up to me where I stood in my driveway. Her arms were laden with paper sacks from the grocery store. All these people are going to need to eat, she said, matter of fact, as I led her inside and showed her around the kitchen. I found it reassuring that so many people in town came already prepared to comb the woods and creek beyond the Jackson property, like they'd done it before. Few even brought maps of both spots, dog-eared and well-used. Some marked the grids of previous searches. It wasn't until later that I realized how troubling that should have been. How many times did I do this before? What exactly was going on? We searched for 6 hours, stopping before sundown. A large folding table was set up in my yard. Jim Thomas was unloading metal chairs from the back of the church van. The mood was painfully cheery as the town crowded around Cheryl's spread of impromptu home cooking. Somehow, she found enough time to bake 5 or 6 chickens, 4 hams, a few gallons of mashed potatoes, sweet potato pie, and corn to go around. Just 6 hours in my tiny kitchen. 2 paper sacks of Rife's groceries. It didn't add up. I didn't question it. There were more important questions. I held them in until everyone left except for Cheryl, Pastor Thomas's wife, who both stayed up to clean. I have to ask you something, I said, coming through the kitchen door, my arms piled with serving utensils and trays. Oh my, Gwen Thomas came running in, relieving the load I carried. You stop right there, don't do a thing. She unloaded the dishes in the sink and led me over to my breakfast table. You have had a long day, Cheryl said, bringing over a steaming mug of black coffee. You leave the washing up to us. I need to ask you two ladies something, I said again. I weighed the implication of the question in my mind. Did I want to hear the answer? I needed to know. Everyone seems to have done this before. Gwen murmured as she scrubbed at the pans in the sink. Once or twice. I could see Cheryl in my periphery. She bit her lower lip, looking nervous and smearing some of her cheap lipstick on her teeth. I think it's more than that, I reasoned. Some of those maps look pretty creased. Some of them have lines drawn, too. We shared an uncomfortable silence. Eventually, silence was stalled by a chime from Mrs. Thomas's phone. She looked relieved as she read the text. It's Jim, she said. I should go. He's wondering where I'm at. On her way towards the front door, she stopped to place her hand on my shoulder. I'm really sorry this is happening. I took a deep breath and she left and continued my question. You want to pretend there's nothing up to? Cheryl sighed and I could see tears welling up in her eyes. We aren't supposed to talk about it. They might hear. My daughter's missing, I said. I need to find her. The boys next door said... I know what they said. She wiped a tear away. Ain't the first time. Nobody will tell me, I said, pleading now. I need to find my daughter. It's this town, she said. You need to find a way to leave as soon as you can. It ain't easy, but soon enough you can. They'll be just like the rest of us. Get out. She wouldn't explain further about the Crow kids. I gotta go, she said, excusing herself. I already said too much. She showed herself out into the night, crying as she went. We went 3 more days. Each day was met with fewer searchers, fewer answers, and more questions than I could count. On day 4, I looked alone. On day 5, I found her. I wouldn't sleep in more than an hour or 2 at a time. Even drinking myself to oblivion was no relief. I was slowly losing hope, tossing and turning in bed as the hours continued to spin away with agonizing ticks from the clock that continued measuring time despite me. Paul and Rihanna's house remained dark as each sleepless night passed forward. A good riddance. I wanted to hurt them, all of them. If not for their negligence, she would still be here, but I felt instinctively something more sinister was happening in Bradenville. It was the one piece of golden clarity I clung to as my life became a hazy tunnel of broken consciousness and deep, dark dreams. Everything was diluted. Then I sank into the inky black of that still and dark sea of depression. I cried and I drank and I searched. I did little else. I couldn't recall the last time I ate. I didn't care because I never felt anything. I was nothing now, and nothing didn't feel hungry. My phone rang with calls from angry clients and their emails beeped notifications endlessly. They wondered why their projects sat unfinished, why I was ignoring them. Didn't they know I was building walls to die behind and diving further and further down? When Jenny, my little bright-eyed Jennifer, disappeared, the neighbors who'd known where she went disappeared, and I disappeared too. We're sorry. The person you're trying to reach is unavailable at this time. Please try your call again later. As I walked, I could feel my insides bursting and dropping out with each step along the edge of the creek. This was the bottom. Pressure of the hopeless depths is crushing what I was left. Continued to look despite the lack of clues or answers. Sheriff Downs was no help. She started screening my calls because she was a worthless lying bitch. I must have left over a dozen disjointed, confusing messages as I drunkenly slurred into the phone. And slowly I accepted that there wouldn't be answers. It didn't take long to realize I was wasting my time. My mind was locked in a downward spinning drain. Bathtub filled the glass of broken gin bottles and disjointed memories as I felt what was left of me circle away. My daddy doesn't like you. Eyes are black and beady. Higher and higher, please. All wet from their sleeping. I think I vaguely recall Cheryl visiting me. Perhaps she brought food that she forced onto me, or maybe I imagined her visits entirely. Maybe she came every day, and she called my clients back. Explained to them. Phone stopped making noise. I should have thanked her. I couldn't because I was gone. The voicemail is full and cannot accept messages at this time. Her kindness did not erase her as part of the problem. Not a single person in town would give me a straight answer about what they knew. Definitely knew something. I stopped asking or speaking to any of them at all. I resigned myself to the unanswered questions and the prospect of wasting away. I walked to the edge of the creek for shorter and shorter hours every day. We're sorry. You've reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel this is an error, please check the number dialed and try again. My seeking grew ever more listless. People here, monsters in plain sight, spinning webs in their shadows. Southern charm and hospitality were ghosts haunting me, and people began to look away from the silent wraith with a 1,000-yard stare that floated at the edge of their awareness along the edge of the stream. Thank you for calling. Goodbye. The night I found her, I woke up to take a leak. Lifting the seat, I began to empty my bladder, staring out the second-story window and into the night. I rubbed my eyes and felt the harsh hand of sobriety shake me. She was there. In the yard, Jenny. My Jenny. Little boy with shoulder-length hair stood with her. They gazed up, motionless, staring through the window and through me. Large black bird sat on the boy's shoulder and pecked at his hair as it flitted in the breeze. The second flew above them. Moonlight cast a shadow as it traced figure eights. A third hopped in the dewy grass, pecking at night crawlers. Finding them, and with adept psychic knowledge of where they hid, it pulled them free from the earth and swallowed them whole. I stood there for seconds, stretching on into forever, and didn't move. They didn't move either. Nobody moved except those crows. Breaking free from confusion, I ran down the stairs, grabbing my keys from the kitchen counter. I tucked them into the waistband of my underwear, and I darted out the door. The night was chilly on my bare chest, despite the heat that still lingered in the damp of the grass. The air was thick and oppressive with the human memory of that forgotten summer rain. She was gone. Both children were gone. I felt my heart sink. Was I hallucinating? Perched on the power lines above, a crow cawed in the darkness and took flight. I didn't think about it. I ran. I followed its shadow as it crossed the asphalt and cast darkness over the Jackson house and toward the creek. I heard the chorus of frogs before I heard the water, and I felt my breath hitch. Stopped dead in my tracks when it came into view. Earlier in the day, I would have guessed the water was at my chest at least, but now, under the stars, it was mostly gone. Flowed like clotted mucus less than ankle deep. The uneven creek bed rose up like a muddy patchwork. Overhead, dozens of crows circled the dark shapes. The ones that stood in the canal, I didn't count the muddy children gazing up at the sky, and occasionally one of the murder doves to land on one. They pecked at their faces, violently piercing mouths, ears, and eyes, cheeks, neck. At a distance, I could see many were full of holes. The ragged skin of their faces pecked so often, torn and bloodless. The kids didn't flinch or react. They stood motionless as though they weren't the feast, spread for hungry birds at all. I moved forward slowly, my feet cutting a cautious path towards the muddy edges as the din of the frogs grew even louder around me. Their song became an uninterrupted note, and amid that, I heard the voices of the children. The crow kids were squawking like birds. Take a dip. Take a dive. The water here is just fine. Sink with us forever. We'll teach you how to fly. Don't you want to be a crow? We'll never know if you don't try. Come soar with us through clouds of muck beneath our murky sky. My head swam with their voices. The children's rhyme came to me, blotting them out completely. Crow kids are liars, eyes are black and beady. Ignore the things they say because they're all wet from their sleeping. Feathers, feathers, you'll fly upside down. Crow kids are liars, mouths are hard and beaky. They're flying on the bottom. They're offering their teaching. Feathers, feathers, you'll fly upside down. All the voices spoke at once, but somehow I could still pick out the words. You want to fly? Sink with us. We'll teach you how to fly, Mr. Eric. As I drew closer, it was like I could feel them inside me. Over endless cries of the crows and the frogs and the screams of the kids at once, I began to hear whispers of other things. You don't have to do it here. Maybe in the tub or at the public pool. Fly down. Stay there till you drown. I don't know why. I found I actually wanted to do these things. My head was a rotten apple. The whispers, the The crows knew it was hiding there, and they began to dive at me, longing to peck it out, eager to pull it free. I swatted at them and cowered. Where is Jenny? Where is it? Where is Jenny? Was she here? There? Near the tangled roots on the tree on the opposite bank, I ran to her, shoving the children and the birds away as I went, and as I neared, she reached out to me. I lifted her from the mud with some effort, feet squelching as they broke free from the suck of it. I trudged back the way I'd come, fighting the pull of the creek bed, with Jenny adding to the weight. The filth was pulling my heels and wrapping around my ankles. "Where are we going, Daddy?" Jenny asked. Her voice was quiet and dazed as we reached the driveway. "We're leaving, Slug," I told her. I put her in the passenger seat of my car and I drove. Bradenville's not a large town. There are 2 roads leading in and out. Main Street goes north and south. Weber heads east and west. We live on Weber, and either direction would lead us out of this hellhole forever. All I needed to do was drive, and we could be safe. Fog was rising up from the asphalt as I cut our path west. "I don't want to leave, Daddy," Jenny murmured as we approached the edge of town. I glanced over at her in the passenger seat. Her eyes, they were far like distant stars. "I want to stay here, so I can learn to fly." Her voice gave me chills. Something was wrong, but the hand-painted sign ahead gave me hope. "Thanks for visiting Bradenville. Y'all come back now." The deer came out of nowhere, and I slammed my brakes, narrowly missing it. It leapt just past my hood, a hairpin angle, and the massive buck charged its path to run out ahead of us in the road. It disappeared. It physically disappeared. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Something was very wrong, and driving again, I learned why very soon. The deer reappeared at the side of the road next to another sign. I was sure it was the same deer, but not the same sign. Frozen in the lights, its eyes stared back at us like 2 pools of light, where it spooked and bounded into the trees. The sign next to where it stood read, "Welcome to Bradenville. Population 2,127. This was the east of town. We drove west out of town. We were on the east side. Re-entering now. Why? I drove up a little ways and stopped just past the sign. The painting on the back of it was the same as the one we just passed, but never turned around. How was that possible? I tried to leave a few more times, only to end up back at the beginning on the opposite compass point of the road, the one we just traveled. I tried Main Street to the same result. Finally, I headed home. Cheryl stood in my driveway with Hayes Jackson on her side. "Oh, Jesus Christ," she muttered as we pulled up. "He found her. He fucking found her." "Nobody finds them," Jackson whispered as I got out. Slamming the door of my car, I moved around the front of it with fury at my back, intent on letting the 2 of them have it. "What the fuck is going on?" I demanded. "Now calm down, Eric," Jackson said, holding up his hands. "We ain't got nothing to do with any of this. We're all stuck. We come to tell you some things you ought to know." Cheryl looked terrified. "You gotta get inside. You can't tell how you heard none of this, you hear me?" They told me the Crow kids like playing games. Nobody knew what they were, but they seemed like they might be a ghost or a demon. Can't touch them or see them most time. They just creep into your mind. They find you when you're low and whisper sweet lies about drowning. Them dark whispers I heard that night, flying to your head on black wings. They're spirits of the drowned, and their number's been growing slowly as far back as their songs go. Everyone who grew up here knows those awful lines. Ghosts. Dead, you can't see them, can't touch them. That's how come I know my Jenny ain't one. She's here. They eyed her warily and told me it ain't her, but I know, Slug. She ain't talking much, but it's her, and she's breathing. She ain't dead like the others. Cheryl and Jackson explained everything in whispers. Everything I wanted to know over the slow chords of "The Hell Is Gone" as it played and repeat in the background. The population of this place don't change. It ain't allowed to. It's been 2,127 people here, as far back as any town record goes. You can't go unless someone else swaps you out. And that's why I'm begging y'all, somebody please come buy this fucker. I need 2 of y'all out there to come take our places. You don't have to stay forever. You can pass this place on to someone else like someone else did to me. I bought it and I'm selling it cheap. You can buy and someone else will come along sooner than you think and buy it off you again. It doesn't have to be a permanent arrangement for you. I know it might seem like you're perpetuating a cycle, but I'm begging. We just need 2 people to come live here so I can get Slug some help. Ain't there any kindness in you? She ain't the same now. I don't know if she ever will be. I won't look for help here. We need to leave. She's just a little girl. She's just a little girl and I'm dying here because I can't get her out and we ain't safe if we stay. Especially after what happened yesterday. Please come by it. I was lying in bed to rest and I could hear Jenny whispering something, but I couldn't quite make it out. When I opened my eyes, she wasn't there, and I figured she must have run off. I wouldn't hear it because now she moves quiet as a mouse. I got up and I began searching for her, and I found her at the bottom of the bathtub. Her eyes were open wide and blue and staring up to someplace far away. She wasn't under the water for long because when I pulled her out, she drew in a long, slow breath, blinking a few times. Cleared the water from her eyes and asked me where Dad went. She asked me what I did with him. She told me Daniel was hugging her in the clouds. She remembered him and that we could join him. It was that simple. We just have to find the way down. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I want to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. I really appreciate it, and anytime you guys give me a subscribe or a follow or a like or a comment or literally just a watch, I can't thank you enough for it because you're the reason I keep making episodes and you guys are the reason that I love horror as much as I do. It's the middle of summer, and I'm sure you guys have summer reading lists or something like that, but wouldn't it be cooler if I just read to you? So, you can always check me out on Audible, audible.com. You can search up MrCreepyPasta, and I have a whole bunch of books that I've done audiobooks for there, such as Tales from the Gas Station, or the very newest one that I've done, Pastel-Colored Dreams and Human-Flavored Nightmares by Vincent Venicava. If you haven't checked that out yet, hot dang, you should. And as always, I want to give a very special thanks to all of my patrons at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta, because you guys are the reasons I get to keep my lights on in the house and get wonderful little treats for my cats and everything like that. And also the reason why we keep getting special custom series just for the channel. So a special thanks to Jacob Shaffer, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Bryon Arce, Ken Lando Higuchi, Bobby Karman, Tristain Pelton, Chase Burnett, Bardo Hawk 764, TheBananaMafia 1, Melancholy Corpse, Hollow Zero, Ferb, Harley, Billy Morrow, Katie Birch, Sashi Sazaku, Kayden the Spooky Boy, MyBodySoundsLikeRiceKrispys, AshWood, Lord of the Weebs, Jay, Feyelocket, Miss Xandra, MrUnsettlingSpaghetti, Eurogore, Suji Campbell, Marco Takes Dabs 420, Stricken, Ozrine Fox, Robert White, Andres Garcia, Snails Brennan, Legit Quad Feed, James Bruce, Chris Lovins, Freddy Krueger, Tynan, Justin Johnson, Michael Scarborough, Infernal One, James Lowe, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Jordan Nels, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Cryptic Nightmares, Someone You Love, Kiri the Sloth, Tommy Green, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Nina Smith, Nico Kayo, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, Trace Miles, Corey Kenshin, and Peaceful Buddha. That's right, guys, at patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta, you could join this amazing list of people's names I mispronounce and the list of Patreons down there in the description. But of course, none of that is ever required. I just appreciate you guys subscribing and watching and honestly being here. So to all of you, sweet dreams.